Very good morning, dear friends. uh, can you hear me? Just anybody, one of you, may unmute yourself and let me know whether you can hear me.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Poonam, very nice. Monali has joined. Okay. For the last couple of days, we have been dealing with the second unit, that is major concepts in linguistics. And we have learned that there have been three approaches that have been applied to the study of linguistics. The first being historical approach, the second being contemporary approach, and there is a tradition of Indian linguistics. In this particular scenario, we have learned certain important works that have been initiated by the great Indian masters, the great Indian grammarians, the great Indian stalwarts in the field of linguistics. We had referred to Panini's Ashtadhyayi. We have also referred to certain works that have been written by Patanjali, the next to Panini, and Bhartari. So these are the three important masters that belong to the classical tradition of Indian linguistics in the ancient times, right? So when we look at the modern scenario, I have been telling you for the last couple of classes that the study of language has been taken quite seriously from the 18th century onwards. By the end of the 18th century and the advent of 19th century has witnessed so many changes in the world of affairs. It has witnessed industrialization. It has been, witnessed various discoveries, and almost all the walks of life, no, in the modern times have been uplifted, have been sophisticated, and have been made more and more lucrative by applying the intellectual, scientific, and historical knowledge. So when we think about linguistics in the modern times, the names there are certain names that come to our mind who have created the decorum of modern linguistics, and it is their work that has revolutionized the notion of language and language study in the 19th and the 20th century. So when we think about the modern linguistics, the name that predominantly comes to our mind is Ferdinand de Saussure, and he is a very important figure. He is a stalwart in the field of linguistics, and it is he who has revolutionized the scenario of linguistics and language study. So he happened to be the professor of Sanskrit, which we have understood in the last class, and his ideas, whatever the articulation that he has made during his lectures, in his presentations, in his books, in his research papers. So most of the ideas that he has put forward in his various articulations, they have been derived by or derived from the Indian classical grammarians. So he had been indebted to the Indian grammarians. He has been indebted to Indian mythology. He has been indebted to the Indian framework of understanding and intellectuality. And his ideas, most of the ideas of Ferdinand de Saussure, inspired by Indian grammarians. He has written a couple of important papers as well as articulations entitled as Memoir on the original system of vowels in Indo-European languages in the year 1979. And again, he has written one more important article on the use of genitive absolute in Sanskrit in 1881. The next to Ferdinand de Saussure, the name that comes to our mind, who has also contributed tremendously to the proliferation of the language study, was Leonard Bloomfield. And he also happened to be fascinated by the great Indian stalwarts, the great ancient classical stalwarts and grammarians. And he has written the article called On Some Rules of Panini. So Panini, Bhartari, all these classical masters belong to the period before Christ, right? And all these gentlemen, all these stalwarts, all these grammarians, all the linguists of the 19th and the 20th century, they have interpreted, they have articulated, they have reflected their views on the ancient texts that have been written by Panini, Patanjali, as well as Bhartari. So he has also written one article on the lines of Panini entitled as On Some Rules of Panini. Next, we come across post Panini. We have already seen that. Bhartari, we have seen Ferdinand de Saussure. So Ferdinand de Saussure, to whom we have referred to in the last class, he happened to be a Genevian. He was born of a scholar, scientist father. His father was a scholar as well as a scientist. And naturally, right from the early days, he has been well conditioned. He was well bred in scholarship. He was well bred in scientific understanding. He was well bred in all the important decorum of human understanding. So he was a Genevian. He was born in Geneva, and he was born of a school, what he called scholar and a scientist. He studied Sanskrit and comparative linguistics. He was an ardent scholar of Sanskrit. He was an ardent scholar of comparative linguistics, and his views. So whatever the works that he has written, whatever the articles that he has published, whatever the lectures that he has delivered at various international places, all those ideas that he has put forward in his various, I can say, deliberations have been inspired by Claude Lévi-Strauss and Emile Durkheim. He has written the work called Cours de Linguiste Generale, which was published after his death. So it is called posthumous work. And this work, originally written in the French language, it has been translated into English by Wade Baskin in 1959. Means when it was published in 1959, entitled as Course in General Linguistics, the world came to know about the articulations that Ferdinand de Saussure has made regarding the language and regarding linguistics. So it is a posthumous work. Cours de Linguistique Générale is a French title. It is a title in the French. It was translated into English by Wade Baskin in the year 1959, entitled Course in General Linguistics. This is how we can translate Course de Linguistique Générale as Course in General Linguistics. So when we say Course in General Linguistics, it has been published in the year 1959, and it is the year 1959 that the world, because when it was published in French language, it was only confined to the French, the people who could read French, the people who could understand French. So that was very much limited. That was very much confined to the understanding of the people knowing the French language. But when the gentleman, Wade Baskin, now out of his interest, he has translated that entire work into English, and it is because of his effort that the world came to know about Ferdinand de Saussure, came to know about his contribution to the study of linguistics, his contribution to the study of language. So he is a very important figure in the modern linguistic scenario. So Wade Baskin is an important figure. He has translated the work Cours de Linguistique Générale, which was originally in French language, into English, and that was published in the year 1959. The major concepts in linguistics. So what are the concepts that he talks about in his course in general linguistics? There are two terms that need to be understood here: langue and parole. So the conception of a language, according to Ferdinand de Saussure, is consisted of these two terms. So the title of the unit that we are dealing with is Major Concepts in Linguistics. In earlier classes, we have understood various branches of linguistics, right? We have seen phonetics, phonology, morphology, semantics, sociolinguistics, stylistic, microlinguistics, macrolinguistics. No? So these were the concepts, or these are the concepts in linguistics. So here we are going to learn what are the major concepts that are being articulated or that are being in currency that we, the students of linguistics, should know. And that's why this second unit will make us understand about certain concepts in linguistics. So the first or the two terms that he talks about in his course in general linguistics is langue and parole. So as per the understanding about language, Ferdinand de Saussure says that language comprises of two entities. He calls langue and parole. And these are the two terms he introduced in a lecture series on language. So when he was delivering lectures on the topic of language at various places, at various colleges, at various universities, he had made use of these two terms, langue and parole. What is this la langue? La langue means the language comprises of two entities. According to Ferdinand de Saussure, it consists of la langue it consists of la parole. So what does he mean by la langue? La langue, according to Ferdinand de Saussure, is an indicative of ability to produce speech. Means the child, when the baby is born, the moment the baby is born, the baby is born with the innate ability of acquisition of language. It is born with certain organs through which it can receive the sound signal. It is born with the certain organs that could help him or her to articulate, to produce sounds, like the respiratory system, the phonatory system, the articulate system, which we have understood dealing with phonetics last year. So, according to Ferdinand de Saussure, la langue is indicative of the ability to produce speech. Means every individual, right? Every individual has or is born with this ability of the production of speech. We are born with the organs needed for the production of speech. We are born with the systems by which we can produce sounds, the respiratory system, the phonatory system, the articulator system, the various organs that are required in the production of sounds, such as lips, upper lip, lower lip, teeth, upper teeth, lower teeth, tongue, no? The top tip of the tongue, the blade of the tongue, back of the tongue, the roof of the mouth, the alveolar, right? All of these organs that we are born with that help us produce sounds. So here he says, Ferdinand de Saussure says that la langue is indicative of ability to produce speech. It is a kind of institutionalized elements of the community's collective consciousness. It resides in the community's collective consciousness. The language system resides in the mind. In the last class, I was explaining to you that there are various centers in our human brain. So as we find, there are different folders we create in the computer, right? Likewise, we have various cells operative in the human brain. 60,000 million cells are there in the human brain, and each cell has infinite capacity of the storage of information. So we receive, perceptions, we receive sensation from the outside world, from the outer world through various sense organs. We are gifted with this sense organ through which we receive the impressions, and all these impressions that we receive through various organs, they are processed and they are sent to the human brain, and the human brain now classifies all those impressions, and accordingly it stores those things at respective centers. So there are various centers. There's a center of emotion, there is a center of feeling, there's a center of joy, there's a center of happiness, there is a center of all those primal passions, all the primal feelings of or emotions of human beings are restored, or they are stored in the human brain. Likewise, there is one center which is to the left hemisphere of the human brain, just of language and the mind. No, all the aspects related to the sound, aspects related to language, they are stored in here. So when we in our day-to-day situations, when we come across certain situation where and when we need to remember about certain places, certain things, certain people, we for some time we tap here. Likewise, we tap here. No, we try to refresh this particular center. Then we no remember. So this is something that is very much known to you people. So here, according to Ferdinand de Saussure, that language system resides in the human mind. There are different systems operative inside the body, the human body, right? The digestive respiratory system, the digestive system, the excretory system, the neurological system. Likewise, the language system also resides in the human mind. Every member shares it, right? Every member, unless he has some kind of physical deformity, unless the person has some kind of physical deformity in terms of the deafness, in terms of other ailments, he or she cannot. But everybody shares it, and it comprises of that particular system. So according to Ferdinand de Saussure, La Langue is an abstract system which resides in the human brain. Every person or every human being is born with this ability of the production of sound. Unless, I just told you just a moment ago, unless the person is suffers from any kind of physical deformities, any kind of ailments. So, the mind has this language system, and the language system resides in the human mind. Every member shares it. And what does it comprise of? It comprises of rules. Means as we start getting into the school, we start acquiring. Acquisition of a language, it is an intense process. It does not take in a day. It does not take in a fortnight. It does not take in a month. It requires the periodic time of processing, accepting, imitating, observation. So applying all these different procedures, one can acquire the language. And the psycholinguists say that a child attaining the year or 4.5, he or she, the child has thoroughly acquired the language, at least the speech. And as it grows up for say about 7, 8, 9 years, it develops, right? The second system of the language, that is the writing. The speech is prime. That's why it is said that speech is primary, writing is secondary. So this La Langue, according to Ferdinand de Saussure, which resides in the human mind, that comprises of rules, conventions, phonology, morphology, syntax, and meaning. Means in the folder called the language, which is to the left hemisphere of the human brain, comprises of the data. म्हणजे तुमच्या भाषेमध्ये सांगायचं झालं तर डेटा, त्या पर्टिक्युलर फोल्डरमध्ये जो डेटा असतो तो डेटा कुठल्या संदर्भात असतो? इट कंप्राइजेस ऑफ रूल्स. सो व्हेन यू टॉक अबाउट इंग्लिश, there are certain rules you have fed, you have stored in that particular during the course of acquisition. म्हणजे इंग्लिश भाषा शिकत असताना we started learning that language in a process, right? We first got acquainted with the sounds of language. Then we got acquainted with the alphabets of language. Then we got acquainted with the words in English language. Then we got introduced to the sentences in the language. And then we got introduced to the certain grammatical rules. So when you to write a sentence in English, you have to follow the rules. When you have to speak the language, English, right, in a certain context, you should know there are some rules. So all the rules, conventions, phonology, the sound system, words, meanings of words, the structural grammar or structural rules of language, all are located or all are stored in the center called the language in the human brain. So La Langue is an abstract system. Now it is a system that is not visible, which is operative. It is abstract. It is there, right? But you cannot dissect and say that this is the system of language. It is abstract because in one of the contexts I explained to you, the matter exists in this world in two forms, concrete and abstract. The concrete form is something that has a physical reality, and the abstract form of the matter is something that does not have a physical reality, but it exists in the form of an idea. It exists in the form of a conception, right? So La Langue, according to Ferdinand de Saussure, comprises of rules, conventions, phonology, morphology, syntax, and meaning. So according to Ferdinand de Saussure, that La Langue is stable. It doesn't change. And once we acquired it, once we learned that these are the rules, these are the sounds, these are the words, and these are the meanings of the words, which we store in the human brain forever. They do not get changed. They remain stable, right? They are systematic and is a product of social agreement. As I know it, so you know it. Likewise, all people know it. So it is a mutual agreement. So everybody does the same thing, which we do or which we have done so far regarding this language acquisition. So La Langue, according to Ferdinand de Saussure, is a product of social agreement. It also involves the principles of language. It is passive, means it is not active. It is something that we have understood, we have received, we have kept in the human brain. It is not functional, but it exists in brain and common to all. This is one part of the language according to Ferdinand de Saussure. because the conception of language, according to Ferdinand de Saussure, is that language comprises of two entities, la langue and la parole. What is this la langue? La langue is an abstract system which exists in the human brain. It is the indicative of the ability of the production of speech. It is a kind of institutionalized elements of the community's collective consciousness. Every member shares it. Every member has it. It comprises of rules, conventions, phonology, morphology, grammar, element, everything. And it is stable. It doesn't change. It is not dynamic. It is stable. It is systematic. It is a product of social agreement. And it involves the principles of language. It is not active. It is passive, right? It is there in the human brain. We have stored it in the human brain. And whenever we need it, we use it, right? So it exists in the brain and is common to all. The same thing is with me, so is the same with you. Likewise, the same with all people. So it is common to all. The process of acquisition of language is one and the same in terms of language acquisition, right? Whether it is Marathi, if I decide to learn Marathi, acquire French language, I can do it. But it requires a process. It requires a process of acquisition. We need to be familiar with. Just remember the days you can remember, right? You remember the school days when your teacher taught you Marathi, started teaching you Marathi, the sounds in Marathi, words in Marathi, meanings in Marathi, right? The grammatical rules in Marathi. So systematically, one after the other, we got acquainted with these rules, these conventions, these sounds, this morphology. So that has helped us gain the knowledge. So la langue is abstract system. It is an indicative of the ability of the production of speech. It is institutionalized element of the community's collective consciousness. It comprises of rules, conventions, phonology, morphology, syntax. It is stable. It is systematic. It comprises of what you call principles of language, and passive. It is passive. It is not dynamic. It is not active. It is just exists in the human my brain as a form of a knowledge about a particular language, right? This is one part of language according to Ferdinand de Saussure that he calls la langue. La langue. Next, we move on to parole. What is this parole? La parole. La parole. This is a French term, right? La langue, la parole. La langue. La langue. Langue. Right? La parole. What is this la parole? It is exactly opposite. It is exactly opposite of la langue. What did we understand about la langue? La langue is an abstract system, right? It is indicative of the ability of the production of speech sounds. It comprises of a principle of language. It comprises of the rules, conventions, phonology, morphology, syntax. It is stable. It is passive, right? So la langue is contrary to this la langue, la parole. So la parole is opposite of la langue. It is active. It is the actual speech act of an individual. The knowledge that we know, right, we have kept here in the brain. So when we apply that knowledge in the act of speech, that is la langue, right? So la parole is an activity. It is a performance. That's why it is active. It is the actual usage of language. When I speak, it is la parole because I am applying the knowledge which I have kept in my human brain. So I know the rules, I know the conventions, right? I know the words, I know the syntax, right? So I have the knowledge about the language. So when I apply that knowledge of language in the given situation, either in terms of a speech or writing, that act is called la parole, according to Ferdinand de Saussure. right? So la parole is opposite of la langue. It is active. It is the actual speech act of individual. Now you find me speaking to you, right? So my act of speech or speech act is la parole, right? You are listening to me. You are receiving the signals. You are sending those signals to your brain. Your brain is giving you some kind of understanding, whatever I'm speaking about. So you are in the context of this speech act, you are passive. Whereas I'm active because I am performing. I am I am producing sounds, right? I am organizing the sounds. I'm articulating sounds. I'm transmitting sounds. And you are receiving them. We are in the act. It is called speech act. So la parole is opposite of la langue. It is active. It is the actual speech act of individual. It is a dynamic social activity. What do you mean by dynamic? Dynamic means moving. It doesn't get stagnant. It goes on changing. It goes on moving. That's why we find everybody his or her own way of speech. Everybody, he or she, has his or her own way of writing. So, la parole is a dynamic social activity. It is unique, right? The performance is unique. So, in all the speech acts, right from the time we get up till the time we go to sleep, we get involved in various situations, right? We are at home, we are off the home, we meet people, we go to carry out different transactions, we go out to carry out various businesses, right? There we meet people, there we talk to these people, there we speak with the people. So according to the decorum of the situation, we change or we shape our speech act. The understanding is there that how you should be speaking with your elders. This understanding is there, this knowledge is there, right? How you should be speaking when there is a time for you to speak with a teacher. You cannot speak with the teacher as you speak with the members of the family at home, right? There is a difference, the formal situation. So this knowledge is there with you. You store that knowledge inside the brain. When you actually apply it, it is la parole. So la parole is an activity. La parole is a performance. It is unique. It is speech act. It's a performance. This speech act is characterized by personality, nature, other extra linguistic features, other para-linguistic features. So when we are in a given situation, get into the speech act. It is not only the sounds, it is not only the words, it is not only the pronunciation that matter most. Along with this, your personality also matters most. What is this personality? No, everybody knows about this personality. It has become a catchword nowadays, right? Personality, personality development program, personality development course, so on and so forth. So when you or we are unique. Everybody is different from the other, right? We're not same. The sameness doesn't allow or is not allowed by nature. Nature doesn't allow sameness. Nature doesn't allow alikeness. It happens only in the Hindi movies, right? One being the same with the other, being alike. Right? It happens in the fantasy world. It happens only in the romantic world, right? But in real world, it's full of diversities. And that's why everyone is individual. So personality is a sum total of all the personal traits, of all the good personal traits of an individual. It's the sum total of the good traits. No, I, being the person, as an individual, I'm made up of the substance. I'm made up of good thoughts. I'm also made up of some bad thoughts. Correct? Good behavior, bad behavior. That's why, very jokingly, one can say that there exists two monkeys inside the human body. Right? मानवी शरीरामध्ये दोन माकडे असतात, एक चांगलं असतं एक वाईट असतं. चांगलं मन असतं वाईट मन असतं, लाईक दॅट. सो इट इज पर्सनॅलिटी, स्पीच ऍक्ट. आपला जो स्पीच ऍक्ट असतो, our speech act is characterized by not only the linguistic properties, is also characterized our personality, the way I look, the way I get reflected, the way I show my readiness, my approach, my points of view, my confidence level, my clarity in my speech, my clarity at my thought. All of these things get reflected during the course of the communication in the speech act. So the speech act, which is la parole, is characterized by personality. Personality matters most. And that's why at all the recruiting scenarios, you find the interview has been indispensable, whether it is class 1 post, class 2 post, or class 4, class 5. It has been indispensable aspect of the recruitment process, recruitment procedure. And what the importance of that interview session? Here, the candidate is tested. There is a testing of a candidate in terms of his personality, the way he comes in, the way he sits in, the way he starts speaking up, the way he makes use of his body, the way he pronounces the words, the way he expresses himself or herself. So all of these good traits of personality characterize the speech act. The nature, what kind of person you are, your nature, right? Your nature and extra linguistic features, your facial expressions, gestures, what we call, your body movements, your hand movements. So all of these paralinguistic or extra linguistic features contribute tremendously in the enrichment of speech act. So la parole or speech act is the la parole, which is characterized by personality, nature, and other non-linguistic or paralinguistic features. La parole is individual, right? When you speak, that act is la parole because it is individual. I'm doing it now. I'm speaking to you now. It is my individual act. So it is la parole. It is momentary. It is situational. It is heterogeneous. It is not the same with all. The way I speak is bound to be different from the way you speak because I am different from you. You are different from me. So it is heterogeneous. It's full of variation. It's full of varieties. And this la parole gives data from which statements are made. One can make a judgment about a person the way he or she speaks. And speech is very important. The way you speak is very important because that defines your character. That defines your bent of mind. That defines the richness of your heart. I'm reminded of Mahatma Gandhi, right? In his my experiments with truth, he shares with us one important thing which I would like to share with you now. If we want to assess, if we want to judge the character of a person, look at the way he speaks with the person inferior to him. एखाद्या व्यक्तीचं एकंदर चारित्र्य जर आपल्याला तपासायचं असेल तर तो व्यक्ती आपल्यापेक्षा कमी दर्जा असलेल्या व्यक्तीबरोबर आपला व्यवहार कसा ठेवतो, तो कसा त्याच्याशी बोलतो, त्याच्यावरून आपण ते करू शकतो. Look at how beautifully he has said. Means a person's character can be evaluated, can be judged on the basis of his speech. How does he speak with his fellow beings? How does he speak with his elders? How does he speak with his lower, right? So if you maintain that decorum, if you maintain that goodness in your speech, the character is revealed. So speech is very important. And that's why, as a students of language and literature, it is important for you to get this understanding. So la parole gives data from which statements can be made. You can say that this is good, this is bad. Something that you have listened to, you can say that it's very impressive. How? What made you say impressive? Because of certain features that he has applied during the course of Speech Act. The way he presented himself, the way he looked at you, the way he has interacted with you, the way he has spoken to you, the way he has made use of his body. It is not only that your mouth, the sound speak, your entire body speaks. Your face speaks to the people. The face gives the message. The body gives the message. So all of these extra linguistic features that are the part and parcel of this La Parole, it gives data from which statements are made, is an individual performance of language in speech and writing. That's why I just told you, La Parole is an activity. La Parole is a performance. And we perform through the language in two forms. Either we speak or write. So speech is La Parole. Writing, actually you apply. This knowledge is there. This understanding is there. But when you apply this understanding in either speaking or writing, that act becomes La Parole. Misbah. Misbah. Keep your mic off, Misbah Patel. Misbah Patel, keep your mic off. Your mic is on. Okay. According to Ferdinand de Saussure, what we learned today, we have learned that in the conception of language, Ferdinand de Saussure says that language is comprised of two entities, la langue and la parole. What we have understood about la langue is an abstract system which exists in the human mind. It is an indicative of the ability of the production of sounds. It is stable. It involves the principle of language. It is stable. It is not dynamic. It is passive. It comprises of rules, conventions, phonology, morphology, syntax of the language. It is common to all. Everybody has it. It is stored in the human brain. It is passive. It is just the understanding. It is just the knowledge about the usage of language, how to speak, how to write. But when we apply that knowledge in actual speech, that act becomes la parole. So la parole is an activity. It is a performance. It is an actual speech act of individual. It is dynamic in nature. It goes on changing from person to person. The way I speak is different from the way you speak, right? So I have got my own way. Likewise, you got your own way of speaking Marathi, Hindi, English, or any other language. So it is dynamic. It is a social activity. It is unique because every individual is unique. You are unique. Means there is none in the world like you. Physiologically, it is same. Regarding the internal structure of the body, it is same. But outwardly, socially, culturally, psychologically, right? Linguistically, you are one and only. You are unique. That's why La Parole is unique. The speech act is characterized by personality, nature, and other linguistic, extra-linguistic features. La Parole is individual, it is momentary, it is heterogeneous, it is full of varieties, it does not have a sameness. It gives data from which statements can be made. It is the individual performance of language in speech and writing. So these are the two terms we have understood today that have been articulated by Ferdinand de Saussure in his course in general linguistics, a book translated